What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got some tournaments. We've got some Keyforge to talk about. This is round 3 from the Illinois Vault Tour. The lovely folks over at Cascade Games did stream it without commentary. So, me being me, I got in touch with them and I was like, hey, any objection to me adding commentary? They said, yes, that's fine. Now, I don't have the player names or deck list, unfortunately. I am doing me best. Now, I can tell you the dude on the left is Chris the Guide, and he is playing Platorius the Proudly Penitent. Great deck name. And I believe the dude on the right, don't know his name, unfortunately, I believe he's playing Elder Ralphus Portaferu. Because I heard Chris say Ralphus at the beginning when he was looking at the deck list about here, and I'm fairly sure the dude on the right is playing Dis Logo Shadows, and I did have a quick look, and it's the only free power deck with Ralphus in the name, and when you play in a Vault Tour, you get free power. So I think I've got the right decks, but please do bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very difficult game to commentate if you don't have deck lists. So what do we see from the list? Well, Chris on the left there, he's playing Brobnar Sanctum Shadows, but he's got what you would expect in Shadows. He's got Bait and Switch, Relentless Whispers, Pawn Sacrifice, all the usual stuff. He does have Fagin Double Urchin, and in his Brobnar suite, he's actually got a Khalifi Dragon. Plus, he's got a whole bunch of Sanctum, and a lot of Sanctum Shadows decks, the way they run is essentially right. You know what I'm going to do? I am just going to armor up using stuff like Grey Monk, which is in the deck, all of my Shadow stuff, and get them stealing while you can't take them down. Dude on the right, who's playing Elder Ralphus, he's playing Dis Logo Shadows, does have both Restringuntis and Control the Weak in his deck, along with an Ember Imp, and of course he's got Shadows with Bait and Switch and Relentless Whispers, all the usual stuff. What is interesting, he's actually playing Imperial Traitor that lets you purge a Sanctum card from your opponent's hand, and he's actually playing against a Sanctum deck. Now, we do see Chris going first here. He's not able to do very much at all. He just gets down an Iron Obelisk. Your opponent's keys cost 1 more Ember for each friendly damaged Brobnar creature. So, if you can get some damaged Brobnar creatures down, your opponent's keys get very expensive. So we have got Shadows for Ralphus here, and we see straight away Noddy the Thief. It's got an action which steals an Ember, and seems like we had a Ghostly Hand come down, gives you a double Ember bonus, and if your opponent's got exactly 1 Ember, you steal it. Unfortunately, his opponent had exactly 0 Ember, so there was no stealing. But still, not a terrible first turn. You get down a Noddy the Thief, you get a couple of Ember. Slow start, although it seems like his turn might actually be carrying on. No, I was going to say, it looked like he'd passed over. So we've got a Sanctum turn coming in here. Oh, and straight away, we've got a Mantle... No, we haven't, sorry. We've got a Protect the Weak, +1 Armor and Taunt, and that has come down on one of his dudes, which I believe is a Sequis. When you reap, you capture an Ember. Now, it's a 4 power with 2 armor, so you're rocking 2 armor here, and I believe that's Protect the Weak, which does give you +1 armor. He is playing 2 Sanctum upgrades, but Protect the Weak has an Ember bonus, the other one doesn't. That essentially gives him quite a bulky creature. 4 power, 3 armor? Against a deck playing a lot of Dis and Shadows, as Ralphus does, there's an awful lot of creatures you can fight that have 3 or fewer power, so you can actually take them down and your armor will protect you entirely. So Ralphus here actually goes with a bit of the old Shadows here, gets down a Skeleton Key. As an action, a friendly creature can capture an Ember. And looks like he reaped with Noddy the Thief, and that was it. So we do get a Brobnar turn now from Chris on the left. We did see a Troll come down. And we actually saw another one of his artifacts come down, which I believe is Gauntlet of Command, that lets you ready and fight with a friendly creature, which is really kind of cool. And I want to say that's Fire Spitter. Before the fight, you deal 1 damage to each enemy creature. It can be difficult to see on these cameras, so do bear with me if I don't identify every card perfectly. I think we're doing alright, though. I think we're doing alright. So still no Ember, though. Chris on the left there, just no Ember whatsoever. Now, it looks like we've got a Twin Bolt Emission coming down. That shouldn't surprise you. There's actually 3 of them in Ralphus's deck. So you do 2 damage to each of 2 creatures. And that looks like it's a Dimension Door. And that means that any Ember you would gain from Reaping is stolen from your opponent. Plus, we actually saw a Phase Shift there, which does let you play a non-logos card this turn, which he hasn't actually played, I believe. So that will give him one more thing to do. Oh, no. Oh, it's just a bait and switch. It's a bait and switch coming down from Chris. Evens up the Ember, gets him to. So it looks like that Phase Shift was really just gotten rid of. Now, Relentless Whispers does unfortunately come down and take out Noddy the Thief. And because it takes out Noddy the Thief, you do steal an Ember. So now Chris is on it. Now he's got his 4 Ember quite nicely. And he's taken out Noddy the Thief, which is lovely. And he's somehow reversed it, so now he's got 4 Ember. And his opponent only actually has 1. He's done this very, very nicely indeed. He's also got himself a couple of Shadows creatures down. He's got his own Noddy the Thief. And he's actually got a Fagin there as well. That's going to help him, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to help him. So it looks like we see a Poison Wave coming down. You do get the Ember bonus for playing it, which is very, very nice. And of course, it just does a whole bunch of damage. It does 2 to each creature, yours and your opponent's. Remember, each damaged Brobnar creature is actually increasing the cost of forging a key for Ralphus by 1 here because of the Iron Obelisk down. So that could be a bit of a pain. Oh, now this is a fun one. We actually see Pawn Sacrifice. Sacrifices Dexter, which is basically gone anyway, to deal 3 damage to 2 creatures. Troll goes away here. And that was a good play. Now, he doesn't have much board presence now, but he has taken away all the Brobnar creatures. So although he hasn't actually got rid of Iron Obelisk, it doesn't really matter, because Iron Obelisk only does stuff if you've got damaged Brobnar creatures, and at the moment, Chris actually doesn't have any damaged Brobnar creatures, so that's going to help. Oh, I told you we played 2 Sanctum upgrades here. Here comes Mantle of the Zealot. And it can be used as if it belonged to the active house. So it can be used every single turn. That is a huge advantage there. And I want to say that was take hostages. For the remainder of the turn, each time a friendly creature fights, it captures an Ember. No, I'm lying to you, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. It is terms of redress. Choose a friendly creature to capture 2 Ember. So we've got a lot of capturing Ember going on here. Very nicely indeed. Still no keys being forged. Not a huge amount of Ember out there, to be honest. Now, Chris on the left there does have 5 Ember, but that's not enough to forge. Ralphus has got 2 Ember, but he is in a position where if he can take down that Sequus, he's actually going to gain 3 Ember straight off the bat. Because when you knock out a creature or destroy a creature with Ember on it, the other player, regardless of how the Ember went on, the other player actually gets that Ember. Problem is, Sequus is currently a 4-power creature with 3 armor. That's not the easiest ever. Now, we do see an Ember Imp coming down for Ralphus here. Ember Imp, one of my favourite cards in Call of the Archons, restricts your opponent to playing 2 cards each turn. Now, they can still use as many cards as they like, and you'll see Chris has a pretty decent board set up here. So, it's really not outside the realms of possibility that he can sit there and do some stuff. I mean, he's got a couple of Brobnar artifacts, and he's got 3. Oh, this one's fun. He's got a couple of Sanctum creatures that he can use, but I'm sorry, I'm too excited about Restringuntus right now. Now, this is where I really need a lifeline to be able to speak to these dudes, because Restringuntus says your opponent cannot choose one particular house until Restringuntus leaves play. Oh, and he's also using a play to control the weak here, which forces your opponent to choose a particular house while giving you an Ember bonus. So I don't know which house Chris is actually locked out of right now, unfortunately. But I can tell you he's locked out of one house with Restringuntus. Immediately, it doesn't really matter. Oh, and straight away that Ember Imp just comes down. So it looks like Shadows is a house he has to use, which makes sense. Shadows had the weakest board position there. But we do just see a Relentless Whispers deal 2 damage to a creature, and if it destroys it, steal an Ember, takes out the Ember Imp, and now he can play as much as he likes. Down comes Shadow Self, which is just really nice for soaking up some damage. I really liked Ralphus' play there. Making them pick shadows while there were no shadow stuff other than Fagin on the board was a good play. It seemed like the kind of thing that could restrict his opponent. It didn't work out, and these things don't always work out, but it was nice anyway, yeah. And then straight away, Fagin takes down Restringuntus, and I mean, he had to. You can't have a Restringuntus and an Ember Imp on the field for your opponent. That's too much, ladies and gentlemen. Too much. And there should be a check here as well. Oh, no. We seem to be reversing something here. Okay. Oh, I think they just put the wrong amount of damage on there because it should have actually gone on to Shadow Self. Remember that Shadow Self kind of takes the damage for it. So, there we go. Shadow Self helps him out. Yeah. Any damage done to non-Spectre neighbours is down to Shadow Self, so the damage that went to Fagin should have and then eventually did go to Shadow Self. So now we see a Shadow's turn coming down here, and it's a bait and switch. You needed a bait and switch in this situation. Your opponent was just about to forge. Bait and switch basically says you get the same amount as or one more Ember than your opponent. It evens it up, so to speak. So that's nice. That works. And I believe we also saw a Subtle Maul come down, which says that, you know, you can use it as an action and your opponent discards a random card from their hand. Subtle Maul plus Skeleton Key is actually kind of nice. Although it is a little bit sad that Ralphus had no creatures down that were shadows. Otherwise, he could have used Skeleton Key and one of them could have captured an Ember. Wasn't to be, ladies and gentlemen. Wasn't to be. So it looks like we got a Brobnar turn, and we actually see a third upgrade. That's Blood of Titans, which gives you an Ember bonus and actually gives +5 power. So for anyone keeping count, that Sequus is now essentially always from your active house. It is a 9 power creature, and it's got 4 armor because now we've actually got Grey Monk giving it an extra armor as well. That thing's a beast. Now, we do see Mother coming down from Ralphus. Lets you draw an extra card at the end of your turn. And... okay. Oh. Finally gets rid of that Sequus there. That was a very, very important play. Little bit mean, if you ask me, ladies and gentlemen. Little bit mean, but it did have to be done. It was very important to take that down. What he did there was a Bouncing Death Quark. Destroy an enemy creature and a friendly creature. You may repeat this effect as many times as you like, as long as you can. You can't just destroy all your opponents. It's got to be yours and your opponents. And that was the risk of building up that Sequus. That Sequus became one of the most beefy cards, creatures I've ever seen play in this game. 3 upgrades, and it had the bonus from Grey Monk. But the problem was there was too much on it. So Bouncing Death Quark comes out, and then Ralphus is just like, boom, you gone. I love that Bouncing Death Quark play. So we do see a Champion to Brisk coming down here. No, I'm lying to you, it's Champion and Naphiel. 6 power, 1 armor, and it does have Taunt. And we also see I want to say there's a Raiding Knight coming down, which does capture an Ember when you play it. 4 power, 2 armor. I'm not a huge fan of Sanctum as it goes, but I do see the value here in things like this. I see Chris is here, he's building up this field of Sanctum going, look, I've got armor, I've got some beef. Ralphus did take out his Grey Monk, unfortunately, and I'm rolling. Now, I should have said we actually saw a Keyforge on that turn. Probably should have pointed that out. So, we do see Chris up 1 key to 0, but it's board position here. We need some kind of board wipe coming down. And here's the thing. Dis have cards like Hysteria, like Gateway to Dis. Chris isn't playing them. The one card he does have is a Key to Dis, an artifact with an Omni ability that destroys each creature. He's going to want that sooner rather than later. Now, we do see Charette coming down to steal 3 Ember, and we do see a couple of other creatures coming down here. We do see a Snudge, which can get rid of artifacts, which is quite nice. And we do see a Shula as well. If your opponent has 4 or more Ember, steal 1. Unfortunately, his opponent doesn't right now. But what he really wanted was key to this. Chris is really taking advantage of his board presence right now. And that's a problem for Ralphus. He's building up and doing what he can do. Okay, so that was... What was that one? That was take hostages. Each time a friendly creature fights, it captures 1 Ember. That was take hostages. It can be difficult to see. Little bit of glare, ladies and gentlemen. All it takes. Plus, take hostages is not a card I've seen played all that very much. So, we do see there Charette comes down. Of course, it had captured 3 Ember, so taking it down means that you get that Ember back. That's very important. And then we just see some more fighting and some capturing Ember and all of that. I would like to see a little bit more reaping. I think Chris could rush this game a little bit more than he is. Having said that, look at the board state. Look at the board position. It's working very nicely. He's actually choosing to play a slightly slower game, whereby he is just restricting Ralphus's field. He's making sure that Ralphus doesn't really have any creatures down, although Ralphus has done a bit of that himself. And he's playing a slightly slower, slightly longer game, but saying, you know what? I think if I play this way, then I'm actually going to get to a stage where, okay, fine, I'm winning a couple turns slower than I need to, but who cares? I'm going to win the game. And if you look at it right, he's up 1 key to 0. Sorry, 1 key to 1. His opponent did forge. And he's got almost enough Ember to forge another key. He's got a significantly better board position. And he's doing really rather well here. Ralphus is playing this. This is a disruptive house. That cannot be a coincidence, incidentally. So, we do see a research Smoko coming down of all things. And what looks like a Novu archaeologist. Both of these deal in archiving, let you build up your archives, have some monster turns. That's building for the future. It's not going to necessarily help him right this second, but it might in the future. Now, it looks like he's got another one of those twin bolter missions. Given, of course, that he does play 3 of them, you expect them to come out occasionally. I mean, frankly, you expect one of those on most of your logos turns when you got 3 in one deck. And he's taken down that Shadow Self. Also, as a side note, right, having Shadow Self in a Sanctum deck, where you're already rocking a whole bunch of armor, and you're already stopping your opponent taking big KOs on your creatures, and then you add in a Shadow Self to soak up 9 of that damage, that's really good, ladies and gentlemen. That's really good. So yeah, I really like Shadow Self in this deck. I mean, you're playing it right, because Shadows is the best house. And it's got bait and switch. It's not... Don't know if you play this deck without the other Shadows cards, but it still helps. Now we see that key to disc coming down. Can't use it, it's exhausted, but next turn, ladies and gentlemen, next turn, this could be it. He also, incidentally, does have a key hammer in his deck, so he can potentially use that to unforge a key from his opponent. And he also gets down a life wood here, which again has an Omni ability. Again, you can sacrifice it, but your opponent can't play creatures on their next turn. So, as soon as next turn, he can actually sacrifice both of those artifacts, destroy all of his opponent's creatures, as well as his own, and make sure his opponent cannot play creatures on his next turn. That's really quite good, ladies and gentlemen. That's really fun. I like this a lot. So it does seem like that Shula is going down. No, that's not Shula. That's Snudge, ladies and gentlemen. Snudge is the one that's on the playmat. So that goes down anyway, gets a little bit of Ember back. Or was it actually a Charette that went down? I think that was actually Charette, because he got his Ember back when he did it. Now this is more like it. Now he's building up his Ember. And he's putting himself in a position, I think he's only actually got 5, you know. Or is it, no, he's got 6. 2 of them are kind of stacked up on each other. So now he's in a position, he's already forged 2 keys. He's got enough to forge next turn as well. And now here we see. So we do see that key to disc coming down. He needs to stop his opponent forging. I believe that's 6 Ember on Chris's side of the board. Oh, there is that key hammer I told you about, ladies and gentlemen. You play it down, your opponent unforges a key, but does get 6 Ember back, but it slows them down by a turn. This is huge. Now, if he's got bait and switch, I still wouldn't be able to play it though because he's in a dis turn. That's a little bit upsetting. So, oh, and he's stopping his opponent playing creatures next turn. That is a great little combo going on there. That is really, really good. Now, I believe that's a Dust Imp that came down. When it's destroyed, you gain 2 Ember. I think that's Dust Imp. So, his opponent's in a little bit of a pickle here. Now, obviously, he's forged that second key again. But the difference is, he now hasn't won the game. And I'm sure it looks like he's got 6 Ember down there. So his opponent would have won the game this turn. Instead of winning the game this turn, his opponent has forged his second key. Now, Ralphus is still behind here. Ralphus is still in the back seat. He's forged a key, that's great. He's got 6 Ember, that's great, but it's a Shadow's turn. So, you got to think he's going to be able to steal 1. Oh, but he can't see if he'd have been able to play that Urchin, but he couldn't. So now he's actually not able to stop his opponent forging a key. Now, he is checking, and now we see he's got 7 Ember. And Chris should be able to forge now. He has got 6 Ember. Here we go. Chris, being a good guy, reminding his opponent, yo, dude, you got 6 Ember. You can go forge a key. So now we got 2 keys forged by each. That is the name of the game, after all. I mean that literally, it's called Keyforge. The question here is, can Ralphus stop Chris forging a key? If he can, the game carries on. If he can't, then his opponent just goes, oh, well, now I win next turn. Now, it does seem like we've got a little bit of lag coming in here. I don't believe that's on my end. Doesn't really matter. I'll still follow you along, ladies and gentlemen. I'll let you know what's going on. So we do have a Seeker Needle coming down. And that's good for destroying creatures, gaining Ember, all of that. None of this is winning him the game yet, though, and that's the key thing. He's got to stop his opponent forging a key. He's got to do something that stops his opponent forging a key. If he doesn't, his opponent is just going to forge his third key and win the game. Now, he does actually play a Miasma, and I believe... Not Miasma, I'm lying to you, ladies and gentlemen. That was a different deck I was looking at. He's still going here. Now, he's got Noddy the Thief. He's not able to get his opponent down below 6 Ember at the moment. So what he needs to do is actually stop his opponent. Incidentally, it was Chris's deck that has the Miasma. Stops your opponent forging a key. Having said that, it doesn't look like Ralphus is actually able to do it at this stage. His opponent has enough Ember to go ahead and forge. And it looks like, looks like he's just conceded the game. Looks like Chris is going to go ahead and win because Ralphus just cannot stop him forging that last key. Little bit sad. Little bit sad. But unfortunately, that happens. I apologise for that little bit of lag at the end. Like I said, it was not on my end. I do apologise. But hey, we got the game. We got the commentary. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to do some more rounds from this tournament. It will obviously depend on if I can get deck lists, etc. So, make sure you're subscribed if you haven't. Stay tuned to this channel. Pop a like down on this video. And tell me what you thought about this game. But by far, the most important thing as always, other than thanking the Cascade Games for letting us do this, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.